Batas Ko Ay Bala, 1990, was released when Fernando Poe Jr., FPJ, was at the undisputed peak of his status as the king of Philippine cinema. By this period, his films were not merely box office successes, they were essential cultural events, providing the masses with a much-needed cinematic champion against systemic corruption and injustice. The genre perfected by FPJ, the moral action drama, operated under a specific, almost sacred contract with its audience. The hero, despite being an underdog or an outcast, possesses unwavering moral superiority, enabling him to succeed where real-life institutions fail. The voice of the masses, FPJ's characters, whether police officers, farmers, or former military men, consistently embodied the ideals of integrity, humility, and fierce loyalty. These films served as a powerful critique of the elite and the corrupt bureaucracy, giving the common people a visible, powerful figure who fought their battles. The post-EDSA frustration, released just a few years after the 1986 People Power Revolution, Batas Ko Ay Bala tapped into a persistent sense of national frustration. The revolution had failed to eradicate deep-seated corruption, and the justice system often seemed slow or susceptible to manipulation by powerful families or dynasties. FPJ's direct, violent, and unambiguous justice in his films was the perfect catharsis for this societal malaise. 1.2. The title as a manifesto, Batas Ko Ay Bala. The film's title, My Law is a Bullet, is one of the most direct and potent thematic statements in the history of Philippine action cinema. It is a four-word manifesto that encapsulates the central moral dilemma of the action hero: the rejection of formal law. The statement immediately implies the complete and utter rejection of official law, the courts, the police hierarchy, the bureaucracy. The formal system, batas, is recognized as broken, compromised, or ineffective. The substitution of force. The hero substitutes the failed system with the bullet, bala, a symbol of immediate, decisive, and irreversible action. The bullet represents the last resort of justice, wielded only by the hero whose morality is beyond reproach. The hero's code. This title confirms that the hero, though acting outside the established norms, operates under his own higher moral jurisdiction. His law is the commitment to truth and justice, and the bullet is merely the tool to enforce it when all else fails. 2.0. Plot and narrative structure. The ultimate betrayal. 2.1. The setup, the righteous man cast out. Batas Ko Ay Bala stars Fernando Poe Jr. as Major Miguel Ilustre, a common type of name for his characters suggesting nobility and clarity, a highly respected police or military officer. The film follows the classic FPJ formula of professional betrayal. The inciting incident. Major Ilustre is the target of a vicious frame-up orchestrated by a powerful criminal syndicate, often involving corrupt high-ranking officials, Dindo Fernando or similar actors, and powerful politicians. He is either falsely accused of murder, drug dealing, or treason, leading to his immediate dishonorable discharge or imprisonment. The loss of identity. The removal of Major Ilustre's badge and uniform is a moment of high drama. It signifies the loss of his professional identity and the ultimate failure of the system he dedicated his life to serving. His subsequent descent into the underworld is driven by the singular necessity to vindicate his honor and prove the corruption of the very system that expelled him. The narrative arc of retribution. The film is structured as a methodical campaign of retribution, executed with the discipline of a professional soldier and the fury of a betrayed man. Gathering evidence. Ilustre's initial phase is investigative. He uses his knowledge of police procedures to gather irrefutable proof of the conspiracy, ensuring that his eventual violent actions are legally and morally justifiable. Targeted elimination. The violence is targeted. Ilustre systematically dismantles the syndicate hierarchy, targeting the physical enforcers first, often played by Paquito Diaz, before confronting the strategic masterminds. Every act of violence is an answer to an act of injustice committed by the villains. The emotional anchor, Vicky. The female lead, often Don Zulieta or Nanette Inventor during this period, depending on sources, serves as the emotional counterpoint. She is the innocent civilian or family member who supports Illustre, providing him with a reason to fight for a return to normalcy and morality. Her safety and belief in him reinforce the hero's moral purity. 3.0 Commercial Triumph and Cultural Significance. 3.1 Box office dominance and mass appeal. Released in 1990, Batas Ko Ay Bala was a massive commercial success. FPJ films were considered immune to box office failure due to his unrivaled star power and the audience's deep trust in his narrative formula. A cultural event, the film was not just seen, it was experienced as a cathartic reckoning against the forces of injustice. This guaranteed high earnings and massive visibility. Marketing the message. The title itself was a marketing masterstroke, immediately signaling to the audience the high-stakes, morally unambiguous action they were about to witness. 3.2 Formal Awards and FPJ's acclaim. FPJ's films, while sometimes overlooked for major Best Picture prizes by critics who favored art house dramas, consistently earned awards and nominations in technical categories, reflecting their superior production values. Technical excellence. Films directed by FPJ as Ronaldo Reyes or produced by FPJ Productions often garnered nominations for Best Cinematography, Best Editing, and Best Musical Score. This recognition underscores the professional quality of the action staging and overall cinematic craft. Contributing to legacy. Every film of this quality, including Batas Ko Ay Bala, contributed to the overall body of work that solidified FPJ's place as the National Artist of the Philippines for Film, 2006, the nation's highest artistic honor. 4.0 Production and Behind the Scenes, Part 1. 4.1 The FPJ Productions Formula. The film was produced by FPJ Productions, maintaining the standard that characterized FPJ's independent film venture. The director, Ronaldo Reyes, though specific directorial credits may vary, FPJ's involvement as the guiding creative force, often as Ronaldo Reyes, was paramount. Reyes's direction prioritized clear, functional action, high moral stakes, and a tightly controlled pace. The cinematographer's role. FPJ's cinematographers were instructed to use wide, stable shots for action sequences. This technique allowed the audience to see the stunts and choreography unfold naturally without reliance on shaky camera work or excessive quick cuts, which was a hallmark of quality and integrity in his films. 4.2 The Stunt Philosophy, Authenticity and Impact. The action in Batas Ko Ay Bala relies heavily on practical stunts and realism, distinguishing it from more stylized martial arts films of the era. Hard-hitting realism. The fight choreography was designed to look hard-hitting and painful, emphasizing the visceral impact of the hero's blows and gunshots. This realism heightened the stakes and made Major Illustre's proficiency believable. The .45 caliber pistol. The use of the .45 caliber pistol in the film, symbolic of the title, is meticulous. FPJ handles the weapon with the efficiency of a highly trained professional, reinforcing the idea that the bullet is a tool of surgical justice, not reckless abandon. The title, Batas Ko Ay Bala, reaches its complete thematic saturation in the film's climactic sequences. The bullet is no longer just a reference to a weapon, it is elevated to a symbol of final, incorruptible authority, a force that transcends judicial and political manipulation. Irreversible justice. The bullet represents absolute justice that cannot be appealed, delayed, or overturned by bribes, political influence, or legal maneuvers, the very threats that incapacitated Major Illustre's career. The system is shown to be weak and pliable. The bullet is shown to be firm and true. The moral sanction. Critically, the use of the bullet is always morally sanctioned by the narrative. Illustre does not fire the bullet until all other avenues, investigation, negotiation, and self-defense, have been exhausted. The bullet is reserved exclusively for the most corrupt, powerful, and unrepentant criminals, ensuring the audience sees the act as a necessary execution of the moral law, rather than simple murder. The purity of intention. The hero's hands are clean, even when dispensing death. The intent behind the bullet is pure, to restore order and protect the innocent. This distinguishes illustre from the criminals whose bullets are guided by greed and malice. 5.2. The climax, trial by combat. The film's final confrontation is staged as a methodical trial by combat where Major Illustre brings the criminals to their final chaotic reckoning. Strategic infiltration. Illustre uses his military expertise to breach the villain's stronghold, often an opulent mansion or secure warehouse. The scene is a masterclass in action choreography, demonstrating stealth, tactical movement, and superior situational awareness against overwhelming odds. The confrontation dialogue. Before the final shots are fired, there is a crucial dialogue sequence. Illustre confronts the mastermind, such as Dindo Fernando, using his voice to deliver the verbal indictment, listing the crimes and the failures of the legal system. This speech gives the audience the final intellectual permission to accept the ensuing violence. The restoration of balance. The death of the main villain by Illustre's bullet is not merely revenge, it is a restoration of societal balance. The narrative concludes that the debt owed to society by the villain can only be paid through this irreversible act, confirming the validity of "my law is a bullet." 7.0. The ensemble and cinematic contributions. 7.1. Thematic co-stars. The strength of Batas Ko Ay Bala lies in its casting, with each co-star serving a specific function to deepen the themes. The female lead, Don Zaluta or Nanette Inventor, the female character often provides the necessary domestic counterpoint to Illustre's life of violence. She represents the fragile peace and potential for normalcy that he is fighting for. Her steadfast belief in Illustre's innocence, despite the official charges, mirrors the audience's own unwavering faith in the hero's morality. The veteran ally, Eddie Garcia or Paquito Diaz as ally. FPJ often included an elder, respected actor like Eddie Garcia as a character who either aids Illustre's investigation or vouches for his integrity, lending institutional credibility to his extra-legal actions. The villainous pair. The predictable casting of actors like Paquito Diaz, the sneering henchman, and Dindo Fernando, the corrupt strategist, was a form of cinematic shorthand. The moment the audience saw these faces, they knew exactly who the enemies were and what the hero must do, allowing the film to focus immediately on the action and drama. 7.2. Mike Rellan Macaling's directorial approach. While FPJ, or Ronaldo Reyes, was the guiding creative force, director Mike Rellan Macaling, if he held the official credit, brought a specific competence to the action genre: melodrama and action synthesis. Macaling was skilled at integrating high melodrama, the suffering of the hero and his loved ones, directly into the action narrative, a style crucial for the Filipino audience who demanded emotional depth alongside the spectacle. Visual clarity. The direction ensured that the fight choreography, which often involved complex set pieces, was filmed with clarity and precision, maximizing the impact of every punch and bullet. 8.0. Legacy and the enduring cultural impact. 8.1. The cultural conversation. Batas Ko Ay Bala contributed significantly to the ongoing cultural conversation in the Philippines regarding justice, power, and the role of the individual. Aspirational justice. The film offered a form of aspirational justice, a fantasy where power, privilege, and wealth cannot shield criminals from accountability. This cinematic promise resonated profoundly with the masses who lacked such power in their everyday lives. The FPJ standard. The film reinforced the FPJ standard, a moral and professional benchmark against which all subsequent Filipino action heroes would be measured. A true action hero, according to this film, must not only be strong, but must also be morally pure to justify their violence. 8.2. The continuous relevance of the theme. Even decades after its release, the film's central theme remains acutely relevant in the Philippines, where public concern over corruption and impunity remains high. Rescreenings and influence. The film is regularly rescreened and cited as a seminal work, demonstrating the persistent societal desire for a figure who operates outside the flawed system to deliver decisive justice. The political afterlife. The moral principles embedded in films like Batas Ko Ay Bala were so deeply ingrained in the public consciousness that they played a role in FPJ's later, albeit unsuccessful, bid for the Philippine presidency. His political campaign often referenced his cinematic persona as the ultimate defender of the poor. Batas Ko Ay Bala is more than just a successful action film. It is a vital document of Filipino popular culture, capturing the national mood of disillusionment and the fervent hope for an incorruptible hero whose law is a bullet aimed squarely at injustice.